The galactic concord existed for species that had survived their own extinctions, mastered faster-than-light travel, and proven they could coexist without tearing star systems apart. Humanity was new, barely tolerated, officially classified as provisionally volatile. We were allowed observers, translators, and technical aides. Nothing more. That was my role. My name is Aaron Vale, systems analyst, linguistic support, the man who stood quietly behind ambassadors and made sure machines didn't misinterpret ancient alien dialects into accidental declarations of war. On the day everything changed, I was standing exactly where I always stood, 2 steps behind Ambassador Kesh of the Varellan Compact, when Princess Sae'thira of the Ilyari stepped into the light. The chamber fell silent. The Ilyari were difficult to describe. Tall, luminous, their skin threaded with living starlight, eyes like fractured nebulae. They were an ancient species, one of the founding members of the Concord. Their laws shaped half the galaxy. Their customs were unchallengeable, especially their marriage laws, which was why no one was prepared for what happened next. The session concerned trade corridors near the Perseus Drift. Routine politics. Territorial compromises. Boring by galactic standards. I was half listening, half checking translation matrices, when I felt it, that subtle pressure change that meant an Ilyari was about to speak. Princess Sae'thira stepped forward. Her presence shifted the chamber's ambient light, casting long spectral shadows. Counselors straightened. Even the warlike karate delegates fell quiet. She raised one elegant arm and pointed.
At me.
This human, she said, her voice resonating directly in the nervous systems of everyone present, bypassing translators entirely, will be my husband. For a fraction of a second, reality stopped working. Then chaos exploded. Counselors shouted. Energy fields flared. Security drones activated. Ambassador Kesh spun toward me, his frills flushing a shocked violet. I stood there, frozen, heart hammering so hard I thought my ribs might crack. I managed intelligently. Princess Sae'thira did not look away. Her gaze held mine with terrifying certainty. I have chosen, she continued calmly, by right of Ilyari sovereign blood. The presiding archon rose, his ancient form crackling with authority. Princess, you are aware that galactic law forbids cross-species sovereign unions, especially with a class-volatile species. Yes, she replied. That is why this council must now change the law. The chamber erupted again. I was escorted out under armed guard, not arrested, not protected, just removed, like an anomaly the system didn't know how to process. Hours later, I sat alone in a diplomatic holding suite, staring at my trembling hands. Why me? I had met Sae'thira only twice before. Once during a cultural exchange, where I translated human idioms into something approximating Ilyari emotional context. Another time in the station gardens, where she had asked me, very quietly, why humans smiled when they were afraid. I'd answered honestly, because sometimes fear was the price of hope. Apparently, that answer mattered more than I'd ever imagined. The door chimed. Ambassador Kesh entered, his expression somewhere between fury and awe. What did you do? He demanded. I existed, I said weakly. He studied me for a long moment. Do you understand what she's done? The Ilyari succession is bound to law older than your species. Marriage to an outsider invalidates half the Concord's legal framework. I swallowed. Then why would she? She believes the framework is broken, Kesh interrupted, and that you are the proof. The hearings lasted days. I was questioned by legal scholars, xenopsychologists, and military observers. They probed my intentions, my loyalty, my emotional stability. Some wanted to declare me a manipulative infiltrator. Others argued I was a victim of alien coercion. Sae'thira attended every session. She never defended herself.
She defended me.
Humans are not volatile, she said once, her voice echoing through the chamber. They are unresolved. That is not the same thing. When challenged about tradition, she responded without hesitation. Tradition that cannot evolve becomes extinction. The opposition was fierce. If she succeeded, it would open the door for cross-species unions across the Concord. Power structures would fracture. Bloodlines would dilute. Control would weaken. That was the real fear, not love.
Change.
Late one cycle, I finally spoke to her alone. Why me? I asked again, sitting across from her in a quiet alcove overlooking the stars. There are billions of humans. Smarter, braver, more important. She regarded me thoughtfully, her luminous patterns shifting. You listened, she said simply. When I spoke of the stars dying, you did not offer solutions. You asked how it made me feel. I laughed softly. That's it? Emotional availability. For my people, she replied, that is revolutionary. I hesitated. You realize if this happens, your life changes forever.
So does yours, she said.
That is the nature of choice. Years later, when children of mixed worlds walked openly through the halls of the Galactic Concord, no one remembered the old laws with pride. They remembered the moment they ended. I stood beside Sae'thira on the upper balcony of the council chamber, watching representatives from species once sworn enemies speak as equals. Humans were no longer observers behind the line. We were participants, partners, and, in some cases, family. You changed everything, I said quietly. She turned toward me, her luminous skin reflecting the stars beyond the glass. No, she replied. I only pointed at the truth. I realized then that the galaxy had never needed stronger weapons or stricter laws. It had needed courage, the kind that dares to choose connection over comfort, understanding over fear. When she pointed at me that day, she did more than claim a husband. She proved that the future belonged not to the loudest voices or the oldest traditions, but to those brave enough to imagine something better. And once the galaxy learned that lesson, it could never unlearn it.